Confusion has reigned since US President Trump announced an entry ban on 7 Muslim-majority countries.
عملنا إجراءاتنا عادي في مطار الخرطوم وصلنا مطار الدوحة.
We went through the normal procedure at Khartoum Airport and arrived at Doha Airport. Then, we were surprised when they asked us to stand aside along with other Sudanese and Iranians, Iraqis and Syrians. We waited, and then a member of the American embassy arrived and they allowed people with green cards to go through. But people with tourist visas like us were told that we were banned from traveling to America.
Citizens from Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria and Yemen face restrictions to entering the United States for the next 3 months. And it's not just for tourists, business people are affected too.
I have been running a group of companies in Sudan since 2005, and we also work with international firms, including 2 American companies with which we have been working with since 2009.
Some believe the decision cancels out everything that made America an appealing place to settle in the first place.
The greatest nation on earth was built by immigrants, and this is against the values and the concept that has been built almost 300 years ago to this great nation of America. And it's offensive, and it is profiling, and it is against the basic human rights to profile someone by his color, by his religion, by his creed, by his origin of country.
Well, the backlash has been massive, and thousands of people worldwide have spoken out against the decision, with many organizing protests against Trump's new policy. Uche Okoronkwo, CGTN.
Now then, let's dig a little deeper into the details of this story. Daniel Rangers joins me from Washington, D.C. Abdulaziz Bello is also live with us from the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Daniel, let's start with you. Given the provisions in the Immigration Act, which effectively prohibits discrimination of an issuance of an immigrant visa on grounds of nationality, place of birth, place of residence, how is this January 27th executive order legal?
Well, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump talked about implementing a temporary Muslim ban on immigration and refugees and the like. But then, according to Rudolph Giuliani, one of his closest advisors, Trump came to him and said, "What do I do with this in practice?" And Giuliani and a team of others put together an executive order that didn't have the words Islam or Muslim in them. In fact, made the case that they were stopping immigrants from, or visas being issued from these originating countries, not because of religion, but because they were dangerous and unstable places. So they don't hide the political facts on the ground when it came to the campaign and the seeming intention of this immigration. But on the other hand, they say what they did with the idea was turn it around and make it legal. Of course, the opponents will say the intent was always to discriminate against Muslims. Some of Trump's closest advisors have indicated that is the case. Trump himself has made such comments. So this will be the subject of a lengthy set of legal processes, both on the ground in airports as we speak now, with legal advisors with laptops sitting on the floor at air arrival areas, trying to argue individual cases, but also much broader cases being brought as we speak.
Indeed. Abdulaziz, let's come to you. The last time we spoke about this issue wasn't too long ago. It was about a week ago, in fact. But has there been any formal reaction to this ban from the government in Somalia?
Well, Rama, authorities here in Mogadishu have been rather silent regarding the matter, more in the sense because authorities here are preparing to host a presidential poll on February 8th. So they're waiting for the new administration to tackle these head on. But then again, powerful statements from the UN chief as well as the outgoing African Union chairperson Lamini Zuma, where they talked about the issue of the refugees need to be given room so that they can go to the United States if they are at will, if they feel that they need to go to developed countries like the US, for instance, like the Somalis who are fleeing from the conflict here, heading to the United States. But then again, authorities wanted the issue to become more of an African affair, because it affects not just Somalia itself, it also affects Libya and Sudan. So experts here are saying that authorities wanted a strong voice from the African Union, and the African Union outgoing chairperson definitely raised the issue and condemned the Muslim ban on the Donald Trump administration has recently signed. But then again, Rama, if we look at the past couple of days, some 93 migrants were returned back here to Somalia, refugees. They did not get the asylum status once they entered the United States. They were returned back here to Somalia. It's not clear yet whether the policy aligned with the Donald Trump's executive was the main reason. But then again, experts are saying that this was part of his campaign trail, where he talked about the need to create a Muslim registry and also to ban Muslims. So experts here are raising a concern, and not just for Somalia, Sudan and Libya. They are saying that Trump might be able to ban more Muslim countries, if at all this one survives the test of time, Rama.
Indeed. Daniel, let's come back to you. Some pretty interesting numbers when you start digging deeper into the meat of this particular story. No one from any of the 7 countries in question, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, Syria and Sudan, has carried out a terror attack on US soil for decades. So what data, if any, justifies a ban on this scale and this precedent effectively?
Well, you're right in saying that Donald Trump is broadly justifying his use of his executive power on the basis of keeping Americans safe. And this 90-day ban is meant to put in these extreme vetting procedures to ensure that individuals don't come here with a set of ideologies that could make the American public vulnerable. But as you rightly point out, there have been no attacks on US soil involving any nationals, foreign nationals from those 7 countries mentioned. The only one I can think of that has any relevance is the San Bernardino attack, where the individuals had some connections with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. So factually speaking, people are scratching their heads a little bit over this, and particularly over the fact that those individuals who fought on the US side and tried to create an Iraqi state are themselves being denied access to this country, something that people like Senator John McCain are really upset about.
Indeed. We'll get back to that wide implication story in just a moment. Abdulaziz, doesn't this ban, at least on this scale, doesn't it suggest that the future of US-Somalia cooperation in dealing with groups like Al-Shabaab and even just ordinary economic reconstruction will greatly reduce?
Well, Rama, the US for now is Somalia's #1 ally in its war against terror, and it also supports the 22,000 strong African Union peacekeeping force that's largely credited with restoring stability to the south central Somalia. It is this stability that created a business environment here in Somalia and a chance for the diaspora to return back in large numbers, to open up business centers and to revive the economy of Somalia. So experts here are raising concerns as to why the US President Donald Trump will issue an executive order at this critical time in Somalia, where authorities are saying that Somalia was turning over a new page in its relation with the United States. We also understand that the United States is opened its first embassy here in Somalia. The first sitting ambassador was appointed in 22 years and is seen as a normalization of ties between Somalia and the United States. And also the refugee program, Rama, if I may be able to tackle that. Somalia is the #1 beneficiary of the US resettlement program for refugees. We're talking about 350,000 refugees in the Dadaab camp in Kenya, and we're talking about thousands others in major capitals like Nairobi, Addis Ababa, Johannesburg, and also in Cairo, who are waiting to rejoin rather their family members in the United States. So definitely it will deal not just an economic blow for Somalia, but also a social effect, in the sense that families who are awaiting to join their loved ones will not be able to see them in the next couple of years. But this ban remains a temporary ban. Experts here are saying that let's see in the next coming months if the American law system might be able to overrule the executive order by Donald Trump to end the so-called Muslim ban.
Indeed. One last question for you, Daniel. Ultimately, at the end of the day, doesn't this just play right into the hands of ISIS?
Good question, and one that, as I was saying, Senator John McCain and Lindsey Graham, both very senior Republican senators. Indeed, John McCain, of course, fought for the United States in the Vietnam War. They are arguing that this set of executive orders will be perceived as being a Muslim ban, will be perceived as being unfriendly to Muslims, and will undermine US credibility around the world. And if I quote, this executive order sends a signal, intended or not, that America does not want Muslims coming into our country. That is why we fear this executive order may do more to help terrorist recruitment than improve our security. These moments that we are reporting are unprecedented in the United States since the days when, the US was turning away Japanese and putting them into internment camps. It's being compared to lots of historical moments when the US turned away from its open hand policy. This is a massive debate that's now going on in the United States, to the extent to which we've also acquired a document which we haven't yet been able to fully corroborate, that members of the US State Department are filing a dissent channel document saying that this executive order runs contrary to the interests of the United States, both legally in terms of the argument that they're making about America as a leader abroad, and that it makes this country more vulnerable. So more reporting on that once we have a corroboration from members of the State Department that they intend to essentially confront the Trump administration over this policy, over this executive order that is sending chaos into the airports of the United States as they begin to deal with these issues.
Indeed, and also airports elsewhere around the world. Thank you for that, gentlemen. That's Daniel Ranges live, of course, in Washington, D.C., Abdulaziz Billo in the seaside capital of Mogadishu. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.